They didn't lose each other even when they broke up, and the song, condemned by the Vatican, remained a monument to their love. We remember this love. At the age of 21, Jane Birkin thought that everything was over. Her life was over, everything had already happened. But it's true. She successfully debuted in the theater, married the famous English composer John Barry, gave birth to a daughter Kate, survived a series of infidelities and divorce, starred in a movie. She, a girl who was born, as they say, with a silver spoon in her mouth, and who received everything in life on a silver platter, just did not want to open her eyes. Jane was sad, although her outrageous role in Antonioni's film Photo Exaggeration won the Palme d'Or. Her parents, very carefully, trying not to push, advised Jane to continue her career in films. Work would attract, a taste for life would appear. And she agreed to star in the French film Slogan, not knowing, by the way, a word in French. Jane agreed and immediately regretted it. Her partner in this film was Serge Gainsbourg, disgusting, pompous as a turkey, who does not hide his contempt for everyone around him. Serge was supposed to play Jane's lover. Just thinking about it made her feel sick. But the more Jane looked at Serge, the more she wanted to look at him again and again. She had never seen such an unusual face. And Serge somehow quickly took off his arrogant mask for her and allowed her to see himself as he really was, vulnerable, always doubting everything. It's such an unusual trait to be both romantic and funny. They really liked to shock, anger, and give rise to gossip. In 1969, Jane Birkin and Serge Gainsbourg released their record G-Tame, Moi Non Plus. Serge wrote this song when he was having an affair with Brigitte Bardot, but Brigitte didn't like it, it was too outspoken. And Jane didn't care about anything. She sang this song, turning to erotic moans every now and then. Serge claimed that these sounds were not an imitation, that he and Jane recorded them in their bedroom. In puritanical Britain and many other European countries, this song was banned from playing on radio stations, and the Vatican angrily condemned it. But it seems that this only made the composition more popular. It has been listened to for 40 years. She became a monument to this love. In 1971, Jane gave birth to a daughter, Charlotte. Serge suddenly turned out to be a great father. And she liked that he loved Kate no less than Jane, treated her like his own daughter. Before Charlotte was born, Serge Gainsbourg and Jane Birkin went everywhere together. Now they went out with a basket in which their daughter lay. And later, no matter where they walked, they always returned home before the children woke up and slept off while they were at school. But these two weren't such a sweet postcard-like couple. They also quarreled loudly all over Paris. They were furiously jealous of each other, and somehow Jane threw a cake at Serge in a cafe. Only an even more desperate step could counterbalance this trick. Birkin ran to drown herself in the scene. She jumped into the river, returned to her beloved in a wet dress, took his arm, and went home. Serge liked it. Serge was a fan of big gestures. Jane had forgotten that she had never wanted to live. She was happy with this man. She successfully starred in films, and not only in romantic, but also in comedy roles and detective stories, raised her daughters, and looked great. Jane didn't have stylists. She had a great figure and great taste. A very short dress, a white t-shirt, tight jeans, everything. She looks like $1 million. But I had no luck with the bags. Jane, with her rhythm of life, needed large bags, but she could not find suitable ones and always went with a straw basket. One day she was flying in the seat next to Jane Louis Dumas from Hermes, and she sketched a sketch on the hygiene bag that the flight attendant brought. Jean Louis corrected the sketch. Jane made the corrections. A little time passed, and a new bag was brought home to her. That's how the Birkin bag was born. Then she couldn't remember when things got bad. It started somehow gradually. Serge needed alcohol more and more often. He talked more and more often that he did not want to live. His bouts of drunken melancholy were becoming more frequent, and it was becoming more difficult to bear them. Jane tried to explain to him how she was suffering, how the children were suffering. In 1980, she just packed up and left. Serge thought, scares, educates. But Jane soon met another man, director Jacques Doyen, gave birth to a daughter from him, and invited Gainsbourg to be godparents. And Serge turned their former bedroom into a Jane's museum. He could not throw away any of her things and did not allow other women to enter there. They couldn't break up until the end. They remained best friends. Serge could come to Jane whenever he wanted. She would make him coffee, and if he was hungry, she would cook dinner. They could chat for hours, laugh at jokes that only they understood, or even just keep quiet. He wrote great songs for her, and she sang them so that they became world hits. Her new husband meant a lot to Jane. He opened her up to the world as a great dramatic actress, but Serge was Serge. Shortly before his death, he called her in London and said in a cheerful, drunken voice, "Do you remember, old lady, I gave you a big diamond? Do you remember when you lost it? So, I bought you a new one." Serge Gainsbourg died on March 2, 1991. In his coffin, Jane put the most precious thing she had, her childhood toy, a funny stuffed monkey. Sometimes Serge said that Jane looked like her, and Jane lived for another 32 years. She died on July 16, 2023.